Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com with the latest on the second wave in the United Kingdom. Conditions in the United Kingdom look pretty desperate. The number of daily COVID cases is skyrocketing and is much higher than it was back in April when lots of people were dying. I haven't been to the UK for a few years, but I'm guessing it must look like this, a viral-driven zombie apocalypse. There must be people dying from COVID-19 and dropping dead right in the streets. Let's check that out and look at the official statistics for daily new deaths in the United Kingdom from COVID-19. Well, this graph is interesting. Where's the second spike? It looks nothing like the graph for daily new cases. In this chart, I've put the two curves on top of each other. Cases is in blue and deaths is in red. The y-axis is of course magnified for deaths in order to make the trends more visible. Back during the first wave in March and April, the trend in cases, shown in blue, was closely followed by the trend in deaths. But during the second wave, we're seeing something very different. The trend in new cases started upwards about 2 months ago. But the increase in deaths has been very small and started long after the increase in cases. The infection fatality rate at the peak in April was 40 times higher than it is at present. Whatever this second wave is, it's not a very deadly virus. There was no scientific justification for the first lockdown and certainly none for the second. The World Health Organization says that lockdowns are catastrophic and should only be used as a last resort.
Professor Gupta, I want to say it again. We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as a primary means of control of this virus. The only time we believe a lockdown is justified is to buy you time to reorganize, regroup, rebalance your resources, protect your health workers who are exhausted. But by and large, we'd rather not do it. Just look at what's happened to the tourism industry, for example, in the Caribbean or in the Pacific, because people aren't taking their holidays. Look what's happened to smallholder farmers all over the world because their markets have got dented. Look what's happening to poverty levels. It seems that we may well have a doubling of world poverty by next year. We may well have at least a doubling of child malnutrition because children are not getting meals at school and their parents in poor families are not able to afford it. This is a terrible, ghastly global catastrophe, actually. And so we really do appeal to all world leaders. Stop using lockdown as your primary control method. Develop better systems for doing it. Work together and learn from each other. But remember, lockdowns just have one consequence that you must never, ever belittle, and that is making poor people an awful lot poorer.
Lockdowns are very bad news for everybody, and they're not based on science. There are many types of coronaviruses, and they're killed by ultraviolet light. So we get spikes during the winter and spring. They largely go away during the summer, and then they come back in the fall and winter. And that pattern is exactly what we're seeing now. At the end of July, Boris Johnson issued a mask mandate which has proved to be completely useless. The number of cases skyrocketed after the mandate was put in place. The vast majority of scientific studies of masks have shown that they are of little or no value. And if you make the air visible by adding smoke to it, it's pretty easy to see why they don't work. Government policies are being driven by superstition, not science. It's very easy to find scientists who will sell out to the demands of politicians, but that does not change the actual science. Mask mandates are being used by governments as an excuse for tyranny, like what's occurring in Melbourne. One country which refused to succumb to tyranny was Sweden. According to virus modelers, because Sweden never locked down, their total deaths this year should have more than doubled. But this graph shows the actual total mortality rate in Sweden for every year of this century. The total mortality rate in Sweden has been declining for the past 20 years. This year is below average and is the third lowest on record. Sweden never locked down, they never mandated masks, they never closed their borders, they never closed their under 16 schools, and they never closed their restaurants and bars. Sweden demonstrated that the draconian measures taken by other governments had no basis in science. And because Sweden did that, they've been the target of a massive smear campaign by the press. Voltaire said, "It is dangerous to be right in matters where established men are wrong," and that's never been more true than at the present. There's a tremendous effort underway right now to silence anyone who goes against the lies of the orthodoxy. Anyway, we're about to get a wave of cold here as a front is expected to come through this afternoon, so Toto thinks we should go for a walk. You can visit him and Kyrie on the web at realclimatescience.com.